Welcome to the Next Generation Rockstars podcast. If you are trying to figure out how do you recruit and retain this next generation of rock star talent, well, you are in the right place. Welcome to today's episode of Next Generation Rockstars. We are featuring Alan Cherry, who is the head of HR at a company called Our Planet Earth, which is doing some phenomenal things for the environment. I'm really excited for you to hear all about them. But not just the environment as a whole. Actually, Our Planet Earth is doing some really cool things in a very disadvantaged part of LA where they are based, where their plant is based. So you'll definitely have to check that out. But one of the things that Alan and I talked about was his experience being in HR for some major startup companies like Tesla, just to name one, that have really built cultures. And he has played a major and pivotal role in building these cultures of working with really smart, talented people, but also what is that like and how do you find that? So he talks a lot about company culture. He talks a lot about maybe some red flags for you younger listeners who are looking at getting a new job or your very first job. But he also talks about leaders and what they need to know and how they need to build their own skill set so that they can really get and retain that top talent, and actually how to motivate that talent and keep them moving forward. So check out this episode. I think that you are going to love it. Alan is just a wonderful, wonderful guest. And yeah, so see you at the end. Yeah. Hey, this is Amanda Hammett, and this is the Next Generation Rockstars. And today I have a super special guest. I have Alan Cherry of Our Planet Earth. Alan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, wonderful, wonderful. So, Alan, I have already given a little bit of an intro to you leading into this, but why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
So, I'm a longtime HR professional who's been fortunate enough to work for a number of very smart companies. I've always chosen to follow a product or a passion, as I think you just are more motivated when you do that. So I've worked for 4 companies that have been part of Fortune's 500 Great Places to Work. I like great cultures. I like great people. I like working with smart and talented individuals.
Fantastic. Well, wonderful. Don't we all like working with smart and talented individuals?
Whenever possible, yeah.
It makes the world a little bit easier. All right. So since you are in the position of really helping a company shape their culture by bringing in their people, why don't you share with us a little bit about your general ideas around company culture? Like, what are you looking for? What are you looking to shape and learn each time?
So I think with company culture, there's no magic wand that you wave and you have a beautiful culture. I think it's the actions and behaviors of every individual every day that makes the culture. So when you're in a startup, as I have been in many companies, and I am here, and there's 5 guys around the kitchen table talking about what we're interested in, it's at that point that you get them to align with the ideas that building a culture is about finding individuals one by one and telling them a story, getting them to buy into a vision of what we're trying to create, and finding people that share your values, people that share your passion. Because as you grow, you're never going to be in a position where you can totally control the culture. If you think about it, every time you double the amount of people you have, that's half as many people again who don't share the original culture of the founding 5.
Right.
So you keep doubling the numbers. You have to have people that actually buy into it and are aligned with it and will pass it on. So it becomes a kind of self-propagating deal here. And that's what we're looking for. We're hiring individuals with a similar mindset. And it can be as dumb as, people who pick up trash on the way in, people who shut the door, people who treat each other respectfully, people who just want to be part of something special.
Yes.
And they elevate their game in order to do that. And that's what builds a culture. It's not about giving free snacks or buying company lunches. That's not the culture at all.
I agree.
So I think it's very much down to the individuals that you hire. And if you bring in the right quality, the right talent, they will create the culture for you.
Fantastic. All right. So that's really some interesting things that you had to say about company culture. I love that, because I think so many people are wrapped up in this idea of, I need to provide ping pong tables and beer in the fridge and things like that. And that's fine if that's what you want, but it's not about that. It's about the action.
That wasn't that proven in the great crash of 2001, where all these startups and incubators had, as you say, pool tables and beer in the fridge and no business plan. You have to start with a good business plan, a good idea. You have to have individuals that can talk to the story, and then people join because they believe in what you're doing and they're passionate about it. That's what makes great business performance, not beer in the fridge.
I agree wholeheartedly. So let's talk a little bit about your ideas around developing and leading next generation talent. I mean, you spend a lot of time in the trenches and looking at recruiting and looking at bringing in those people. So what is your idea around that? How do you see that for a company?
So what we practice here and what we talk about here is that learning and development is available to everyone. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what job you do. I work closely with the managers every day to ensure the messaging that's going out to the employees is that everybody can learn, everybody can grow, and there are opportunities to build a career plan and to get the development that you're seeking in order to get a more responsible job and to move on in that way. So, a lot of people only think about exempt professional employees when they think about learning and development. And that's just not in my mind, the right way to go about it. We have people here who are, hourly paid sweepers and cleaners, and we get good retention because we give them an opportunity to learn and grow, an opportunity to, work up to a forklift driver, to go from a forklift driver to a machine operator, to go from a machine operator to a supervisor or a lead, to get some professional help in terms of developing your relationship skills. How do you build a team? How do you motivate employees? Pretty basic skills, you might argue, but a lot of people, they didn't go to school and didn't go to university like the professional people, but they still want to learn. And I think we feed that beast. Right.
Well, I mean, just to your point there on, the differences between people that went to university and didn't, some of the people that did go to university, they may have learned some of those management and leadership skills, but actually putting them into practice, I have found sometimes there seems to be a block there. So
absolutely. No, I mean, some of the worst managers I've seen have been the most educated, so it's not a question that education makes the person and they're all, popped out like great managers. They think they're great managers because they've got an MBA. Actually, they're horrible managers because they haven't got any of the soft skills that I would value.
Yes.
I think that management is it's a contact sport. It's really about getting in close, talking to people, building relationships, and coaching them. Coaching is such an underrated, skill. People tend to think that you're going to do some fancy, career planning, and you're going to talk about sending people on a program. And really, 99% of what you learn is on the job, day to day, being coached and actually understanding the value of what you're doing. It's not about going on a program.
I couldn't agree with that more. I think that that's a really valuable and valid point there. Oh gosh, I have so many things that I'm all like, oh, I need to ask this.
That was interesting. Let's talk about that. Yeah. No, I think it's just the important thing here is to say that, what we're trying to do here, and it's the first time for me, is to, do something very different with a whole range of people that typically a lot of high-tech professional HR people don't really come into contact with, which is that that array of people from the very lowest level, cleaner, sweeper kind of person up to the professional leaders, and to try and be a beacon in the community for doing things better. We're in a very disadvantaged area here. Typically we wouldn't be the kind of company with the kind of jobs that you would see in this area. Right. And so we're trying to prove that it's possible to do the Holy Grail of being successful in business with a great culture that treats people properly. And that we believe everybody will respond to that message. So we're working with the local community association. We're working with Homeboy Industries, who have previously incarcerated people, and they, just like everybody else, want to actually do better. They want to learn and grow, and they want to build a career. So we're offering something that's very, very different in this area to a range of people, and we've found that the take up, the interest, the passion is there across the board.
I agree. So what I want to point out, and for the audience here, is that our planet Earth is actually located in an area of LA that is, disadvantaged. It's not the, palm tree lined streets that when you think of LA that you think of. I mean, this is a very disadvantaged area. This is the socioeconomic area is not
mainly immigrants. Yes. Or second generation immigrants who are very close to poverty, a number of people sleeping on the streets. This is not the high-tech Silicon Valley areas that you see in the press every day or on the news. Yeah. We're fighting a different battle here, but it's one that we've chosen to take on, and one that I believe we're winning.
Absolutely. So I'd like for you to share with the audience a little bit more. And you and I had a previous conversation about this, and I love what you're doing. So I would like for you guys to share with us, what is the whole idea around recruiting? How are you guys going about making a shift in that area? And not just a shift economically in that area, but also in the people that live in that area. How are you affecting?
So we're basically reaching out to a lot of different people in many different walks of life, and my belief is that there's no one single program that will bring you all the people that you need.
Right.
So we do work closely with the local community association. We do work with Homeboy Industries. We put banners on the side of our building. We do all the basic stuff that would, attract hourly paid people who are not looking on, one of the social media sites to find their next position. So that's where we get our kind of more basic level people. Then we also talk to the recruitment agents. We have a group of recruitment agents that work very closely with us, who have been to the plant, who've done a tour. They understand our positions. They understand our culture. They know the kind of talent that we're looking for. And then right up to the more senior professionals, the professional engineers, and the leadership positions. We'd work either with agencies, or we would post positions ourselves. We run an interesting website that explains our business, explains our philosophy, and I think that's where the connection comes. And you do find that everybody, from the very lowest level right the way through, will have access to a computer these days, will find our website, and will read what we've written, and they'll buy into the vision that we're doing something good for the community, we're doing something good for the environment. It's a job that even at the lowest level is satisfying, because you understand the vision of the company. Removing all the plastic from the oceans and removing plastic from landfill, giving people an opportunity to have end-to-end closed-loop recycling, where in essence a used bottle can become a new bottle again, is something that will change the way that we recycle plastic and the way we think about plastic. So that's really the vision that we sell, and it resonates with people.
And it sounds like it resonates with people at all levels.
Yeah. right across the board, you'll find, almost everybody has a story. Very often I get some guy comes in, he's going to be a machine operator, and I'm talking to him about why he's interested. And he says, my daughter says we have to do this. And that's the truth. Maybe some of the older people that we have don't quite get it, but certainly their family does and their kids do. And the kids have told them, you should do that. It's really important.
It is.
And it's the truth. It is really important. And what we wanted to do in HR is to make it important, not just because of the passion and the vision of the company and the business success, but also because we can be this beacon in the community, and we can prove that you don't have to have dirty, low-paying jobs just because it's a tough area. You can bring a progressive professional environment into this area and be successful in business and give people the opportunities they deserve.
That's amazing. So let me ask you this question. When you're interviewing or when you're looking to bring in someone new at any level and they're considered young talent, so 30 and under, what is it that really stands out to you? Is there a specific character trait? Is there a specific skill set, I don't know, that you're looking at that makes you go, that person's going to be a rock star and they're going to be very successful here?
Yeah, I think whether it's a millennial or anybody else, there's the similar kind of themes that play here. I really like to talk to somebody that has a plan, somebody that's thoughtful about why they're picking the companies they're working for, why they're picking the managers that they're going to be working closely under. Why are they picking this company? Because it has learning and development, because it has a good culture, because it has a good vision. We're looking for that energy, that passion, that thoughtfulness. And I think they're on a trajectory that you can see all the way through their career. They didn't just do this school and this type of education because it was kind of fun. They did it because they thought about it and they knew where it would fit. It's part of the building block of their career. And so when they go to take their first, their second, their third job, you can see that they're mindful of where they're headed and they're confident of their approach. I also like to see a little humility. One of the biggest things that trips people up is arrogance.
Yes.
People they have a great education, they're definitely on a great trajectory, but they're not right for us if they're arrogant. They're not right for us if they think it's deserved. We want people to still have that little bit of hunger, have that passion, have that burning in their eyes that they're looking for something and they're appreciative of the opportunity. Right. And they know they have to prove themselves.
That's fantastic. I really do agree with that. Arrogance is the downfall of some of the greatest people in the world.
Yeah.
So.
And you've seen it. I mean, if you're comparing cultures, you can see, cultures that build and grow and do excellent work at attracting and retaining and making performance. And you can see, other cultures that completely squash that. And it's normally where you have very strong, very aggressive, arrogant leaders who basically push down on the people, and they believe poor performance is gained, by the stick rather than the carrot. And it's been pretty well proven that, you can get some short-term gains if you use that mentality, but you're not going to do it long-term. People will figure it out and they'll go and work somewhere else.
Yes.
And I think the thing that I'm really thankful for millennials for is that they basically have pushed back on that kind of management and that kind of company. And they've said, no, we're not purely, driven by money. We're actually looking for satisfying careers in companies that are trying to make a difference in the environment. We want to do better for the world. It can be accused of being a little soft, but I don't think that's anything near as bad as being a little too hard. So I'll take a little soft every time. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Alan Jerry. That was quite an endorsement from you. So let's talk a little bit about this. And you kind of alluded to this in the last answer that you gave, but I would imagine through your career, you've been at multiple startups, you've been at some wonderful companies. But I would imagine that you have witnessed and experienced on your own, some other different forms of leadership different styles of leadership. And how did that actually shape your vision of the kind of culture you wanted to help create, and also your own leadership style?
Yeah, I have seen some, I mean, at a certain point, you turn around in your career, maybe when you're like mid-career and you think, well, now I've worked for 4 or 5 companies, I've seen a range of different cultures and management styles, and I've seen varying degrees of business success. And you start to, if you're thoughtful, put together, where would I like to work? What would be my perfect company if I had that dream to do whatever I wanted? And you're playing off usually between business success and a great culture. And it's almost as though people tell you those things are binary and you can't have both. I'm a bit of a dreamer, and I do believe you can have both. You know, I don't want to work for a great company that's totally unsuccessful, but neither do I want to work for a totally successful company that's miserable to work for. I think you've got to find that happy balance in the middle. And I think with the right leadership and the right employees and the culture that you're building, you know, one employee at a time, then I think you do create that culture that is both a driven, successful business performance, successful company with a great culture that does treat people well. It doesn't mean you give people an easy ride or a free ride. We're not saying that at all. We're actually saying you're going to get challenged every day. You're going to get pushed to do more. You're going to get driven to sign up for bigger responsibilities and to do more with your life and your career. But we're not, we're not going to relent at all on that side, because that's what leads to great business success. And we're looking for people that stay the course, not people that come in, do 9 months and then quit. We want people that will stick with us. We want people that are in this for the long haul, and they'll seek out the kind of companies that have that longer term vision, and they'll be successful, and they'll stay with those companies, and they will learn and grow, and they will develop much better skills and have more satisfaction.
So let me ask you this, and this just totally popped in my head when you were talking. What is your take on failure at work?
So, I mean, failure that's like saying, you know, what are your weaknesses? You know, I mean, and we turn weaknesses and we say that there are no weaknesses, there's only development, you know, and it's the same with failure. Failure usually accounts for, it could be business failure, or it could be failure of a personal nature, you know, and failure is okay. Failure is good if you learn from it.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you can go to a startup, and I've been at a startup that had a great vision, it had a great product, it had incredible technology, but it was technology chasing a market, and the market didn't really exist. So we were kidding ourselves, you know, and telling ourselves how wonderfully clever we are and were to develop this product, to have this technology, have all these smart people, but really we were deluding ourselves because there was no market there. So the learning was great. You know, you can be as smart as you like. It doesn't matter if there's no market for what you're selling. You'll never be business successful. You know, this is like the difference between, if you're old enough to remember Betamax and VHS, you know, in the different recording systems. You know, Betamax was actually a much better system, technically much better and more advanced than VHS, but it didn't win. VHS won because the market wanted a cheaper, lighter, softer, more available system. And so once again, you know, the learning comes through every time, that you have to have alignment with everything that you're doing. So an individual can learn and a company can learn. And when you choose the place that you work, when you choose the company with a product or a technology, you have to ask yourself that question, because it will obviously influence everything you do when you get to that company.
Absolutely. 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 So let me ask you this. What would you say has been the biggest influence or shift that you've seen in the workforce as these younger generations have come in, as millennials have come in, and now we're starting to see Gen X come into the workforce? What shifts and changes are you seeing?
So I think there is a shift in terms of, as we've kind of alluded to earlier, that, you know, you see the younger people come in, and on one side, they're exactly the same as every other generation. And there's a bunch of really smart ones. There's a bunch of really hardworking ones. There's some people that are still finding their way, and there's some people that have given up. And that's the same in every generation. I think the millennials and the Gen X people have started to shift the world a little, in that they're pushing back on some of the accepted ways of working, which were very old school, where, you know, you have to come in on this hour and you have to leave at that hour. You can't really do anything else unless you come to work. You know, working from home means you're a slacker. I think those notions are changing dramatically, where I don't know what the latest number is, but I think they said something like 60% of people work at home at some time during the month or the week nowadays. And I think that is a much greater degree of freedom for people. And I think you'll find not that they will abuse it, but they will actually respect it and perform better because of it. Whether they're able to raise a child, whether they're able to take a job with a longer commute because they don't have to go every day, you know, it gives so much more flexibility to the workforce.
Yeah.
Then also, we would thank those new generations for pointing out that, you know, satisfying, meaningful work that actually is valuable to the community and the environment and the world is actually a really, really good thing. And people will be so much more passionate and hardworking about it, rather than just taking a job that pays well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not a pipe dream. It actually can be a reality. So.
And actually, you know, once again, the two things come together. If you find something that's really meaningful to you, you work hard at it, you're successful at it, and guess what? The world likes it as well, and they buy it, and we're all successful. Absolutely. So you can have both sides of the house. It doesn't have to be business success or a great culture. It can be both.
I agree with that. I agree wholeheartedly. So what I see a lot of leaders struggle with is making that connection. They may be at a company that has a great vision and is doing good in the world, but they're having a hard time making those connections for some of their employees that maybe aren't on the front lines and doing the cool, innovative things. They may be, you know, sweeping the floor, or, you know, doing payroll, or something that's maybe not quote unquote exciting and innovative, but they're having a hard time making that connection as to why that's important. So what would you say to a leader who's struggling with that?
So again, it's really back to the fact that it's, you know, talking to the individuals every day in every way. You know, management is not an end of year writing up a review and I'm a manager. No, management is every day in every way. And it's like gardening. You know, you have to weed and feed every day. You can't just go and do the garden and do a weeding and once a month. It doesn't work like that. You know, and I think that's what good leaders do. Good leaders know they have to build a relationship with their people. They have to, you know, before they tell them something, they have to ask some questions. You know, what's going on in your life? Where are you today? How are you feeling? You know, because we all live a range of different lives. You know, we're the worker, we're the father, we're the son, we're whatever. You know, there's tons of different pieces to our world, and we don't all show up every day completely brimming with passion. That's not the reality of it. Sometimes we need a little pick-me-up. Sometimes we need you to put an arm around my shoulder. Sometimes I need a little bit of a kick to get me going, you know, and all those things are the right answer at the right time. Yeah. So I think the good managers, the good leaders, they take that responsibility and they explain to people. They, you know, they look at the breadcrumbs and they join the dots for them to show that, hey, you might be a sweeper today, but do you realize if you did that job really well in 3 months, you might get the next job, which would be a forklift driver. And then you're taking the bales of used plastic and you're putting them into the recycling so that we can grind them up and we can make them into new plastic structures, you know, which means we don't have to bury them in the ground or throw them in the ocean. That's why it's important. You can make those connections at every level with every different job. And I think the good managers will engage their employees. You know, I mean, an engagement and motivation are very different. You know, I can beat you with a stick and tell you you're motivated to do the job. But if I engage you, you do that yourself. You provide the motivation, and it's worth 3x me motivating you. And that's where the good managers go, yeah, you know, hey, sweeping the streets and whatever is maybe not the most exciting job, but it has a career element to it. Think about the skills that you could learn.
Yes.
You know, we send our people at that level, they go on English training. So they're going to basically develop their language skills so they can be more effective in the workplace. You know, there are a lot of things you can learn. They come to our Toastmasters club and learn how to communicate better. You know, so yeah, maybe they're cleaning and sweeping and driving forklifts, but they're still doing some skill building, which will be useful in the future.
I love that. And, you know, one of the things that I think that millennials have done a good job is really pushing back on that leadership style. Because when I early in my career joined the workforce, I worked for a Fortune 50 company, and the leadership style was very much like, you do this because I told you to do this. There was no guiding, there was no coaching, there was no nothing. It was just get it done. I don't care how it happens. Just do it. And so now I think that that's one of the things that millennials have done is they have really pressed that issue and required managers to grow from just get it done to actually empathetic, more heart-led, like we're human to human connecting here at work. And this is what we need to do to accomplish a goal together as a team.
Absolutely. If you hire the right people, then a good manager, a good leader would never want to just tell you what to do. Yes. Because the trick of leadership is I will tell you what needs to be done.
Yes.
I expect you to bring the creativity and the passion and the involvement into how it is done.
Yes.
And then we can discuss the standard to which it will be finished. And I think that's where the interest is. And the young people that I work with all are so passionate and so hardworking and so enthusiastic about what we're doing and how it is impacting the world. Yeah. They love coming to work in the morning and doing their job. Whether it's, as you say, a payroll manager, a junior engineer, a technician, you see the same responsibility, the same pickup that you get in any level of work. And it changes the way we actually get business performance. And I don't think, you know, the old school manager who tells you what to do and tells you how to do it, looks over your shoulder every 5 minutes, would get anywhere near the same result that we see.
I love that. So let me ask you this. What advice would you give for any young talent, any young employee, or actually for anybody for that matter, as they're looking at companies, they're out there interviewing, they're looking for a new position. Are there any red flags that would just tell them, hey, that culture is not great, that's going to be toxic, you're not going to be happy? Is there anything that just really stands out to you?
Yeah, I think when I teach interview skills and I'm teaching my managers, I say to them, you know, I'll teach you all the skills. And then at the end of the day, the most important thing I'm going to teach you is trust your gut. If it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't right.
Yes.
If the person that's interviewing you feels aggressive, feels controlling, discusses, this is what you will do, this is how you will do it, you know, it's an automaton speaking. And I think that tells you far more than anything that they've actually told you. You know, the words they can say can mean anything, but the way that they say it, the relationship, even in an interview that they build, the messages you got as you walk through the front door, as you talk to the receptionist, as you walk through the offices, as you sat down in the interview room, you're picking up signals all the way along. Do not ignore those signals. You will know if you're in a good company with good energy. You will know if it's a company that has a vision and a business that interests you. If you don't follow your passion, it's only going to be a job.
Right.
And then you could be successful, but not really successful. It'll never be satisfying and successful. And therefore, you'll never really get your dream job.
All right. So, Alan, what is your favorite leadership book of all time?
I don't really have a favorite, but I like Sacred Hoops by Phil Jackson, which I know nothing about basketball, so I put my arms up there. But I like the fact that he was able to take very strong-minded individuals who are extremely passionate, veering into arrogance, and basically show them that they would never achieve anything unless they could work with others and collaborate and build a vision together and then go execute. And that's an incredible metaphor for business, in that, you know, you will never achieve anything if you think you're going to do it all on your own. Business is a collaborative sport. There is nothing we do here that an individual does completely on their own. To be successful, they're always working in a team and they're always part of a successful company.
Wow. So I have nothing that I can add to that. So thank you very much, Alan, for being here.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. All right, audience, thank you guys so much for joining Alan and I, and we will see you in the next episode. Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of the Next Generation Rockstars, where we have discussed all about recruiting and retaining that next generation of talent. So I'm guessing that you probably learned a tremendous amount from this week's Rockstar Leader. And if that is the case, don't keep me a secret. Share this episode with the world, but really share it with your friends, with your colleagues, because they also need to learn how to recruit and retain this next generation of talent, because these skills are crucial to business success moving forward. Now, of course, I want you to keep up to date every single week as we are dropping each and every episode. So be sure to subscribe to your favorite podcast platform of your choice, and you will see the Next Generation Rockstars show up just for you.